This episode of the Slash Filmcast is brought to you by Bonnaroo.co.uk and Underworld's Rise of the Lycans. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Slash Filmcast, the official podcast of SlashFilm.com. My name is David Chen, and with me are
Devindra
and Adam Quigley.
If you're just joining us for the first time, you should know that the Slash Filmcast usually broadcasts live on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 6 p.m. Pacific at slashfilm.com/live. You can find a catalog of all of our back episodes and find links to subscribe at slashfilmcast.com, and you can also email us anytime at slashfilmcast@gmail.com. We always begin every episode by discussing what we've been watching, move on into a dissection of the week's film news at slashfilm.com, and conclude with one final featured review. This week, the review that we'll be doing is Star Trek, the new J.J. Abrams reboot, hopefully with director Rian Johnson, but we don't know if that's going to happen. But if you stick around, find out. That'll be like a suspense thing for this episode.
It's an adventure.
Yeah, it's an adventure. Maybe Rian Johnson will join us, maybe he won't. It sounds
like a J.J. Abrams podcast episode.
Exactly. It sounds like we're joking, but we actually don't know.
Give us the rabbit's foot, Rian Johnson.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Anyway, I also want to point out, actually, before we begin this episode, just to spice things up a little bit, I want to throw out a big shout-out to our buddies at SeenUnseenPodcast.com. That's SCENEUNSEEN podcast.com. Those guys will be reviewing Star Trek and running down their favorite movies that have the word star in them. So that should be a good episode. It's coming out next week. Check it out at SeenUnseenPodcast.com. They also did a Wolverine review recently. So yeah, great friends of the show, great guys, and check out their next episode. Should be a blast. Anyway, moving on. First order of business: movies we've been watching this week. Devindra Hardor, what have you been watching this week?
I saw two things worth talking about. First, I finally saw Bolt, which is the non-Pixar Disney CG movie starring John Travolta as a talking dog and Miley Cyrus. I know you really dug this movie, Adam.
Yes.
Yes, I know Adam really dug it.
I hear some hesitance there, which makes...
No, I'm just saying you dug it. And I kind of dig it, too. It's a really cute movie, and I think it's a good kids movie. It's not a movie that I would feel embarrassed to show kids, or it's not a movie that I feel makes kids feel stupid or dumbs itself down for kids. And actually, given that I just recently saw what was that movie, Marley and Me, this movie is like the complete opposite in terms of quality and everything, even though it's sort of similar subject matter wise in terms of Marley and Me. So I would say if you're looking for a good movie about having pets and about the love between a pet owner and their pet, watch this movie. It's really cute.
And the ending actually earns the emotional tear-jerky ending. It actually earns that moment.
Yeah.
While Marley and Me is just manipulating the audience in a really sort of sleazy way.
It would be like Marley and Me if Marley and Me spent the entire movie focused on the dog.
and the dog thought it was an action hero.
Yeah. Yes. And
I think I really love this movie, and all the side characters are really great as well, especially the cat and the what was it, the gerbil or the guinea pig?
I wasn't a huge fan of the
yeah. I wasn't the rhino.
I like Rhino.
What was it?
He was adorable. He the thing is, Rhino was a fanboy, and I know it's just sort of funny if you look at him in those respects. It's kind of hilarious.
But yeah,
I felt like Rhino's an example of exactly what I don't like seeing in kids' film, which is like sort of just the loud character that just is there to make the kids love him.
Yeah,
that's fine.
And whose dialogue isn't particularly inventive or anything like that. But
sure.
But Susie Essman plays Mittens, the cat, in that film, and I thought she did a great job. A very good New York accent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The other movie I saw, which was very similar to this, was Catherine Bigelow's The Hurt Locker.
Yeah.
Which is also about a man and his pet bomb. This movie was awesome. Like, this movie, we have seen many Iraq War movies come down in the past few years. This movie would rank in my top 5. This movie rocks.
We haven't seen that many. We've seen like 10. We haven't seen that many Iraq War movies, right?
There are a lot of Iraq War movies, Dave. If you think about it.
All right, let's actually try to list them off.
Jarhead.
Jarhead. Although that's a different Iraq War.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm thinking The Kingdom, Lions for Lambs or whatever.
Rendition.
So, That's all I can think of.
I feel like we've been bombarded with them. You know, there's other things like Generation Kill and all the documentaries that we're getting. Yeah, people are listing those in the chat room right now, like Standard Operating Procedure. Like, even though those are documentaries and they're about the war, we've been in like this media
body of lies.
Yeah.
Also, Muth Media in the chat room points out the kingdom is not about Iraq. That's actually correct, right?
Sure.
It's actually about Saudi Arabia, I think, right? Or
yeah. Well, I mean, it's basically everything. The reason all these movies are getting made is because of the Iraq War. Like, that's the thing. Like, they're all riffing on the theme of, you know, us against the brown people. And
that's why they seem so similar in style as well.
Yeah.
So Saudi Arabia. It is Saudi Arabia.
I would say actually that this movie is like in my top 3 if we really don't have many to choose from. It's very good. It succeeds at being an action movie. It succeeds at being just a good war film as well. That, you know, depicts the horrors of war and its effect on people very well. Much better than a movie like Jarhead, which I know is about the psychological experience of preparing for war, that you never really get to fight, yada, yada, yada. I didn't really care for that. This movie, I think, encompasses all of that very well with great action. There's a sniper battle in this movie that is amazing. Like, better, I would say one of the best sniper battles I've ever seen on film. So
better than Enemy at the Gates?
Better than Enemy at the Gates. Better than Shooter. Wait, was there a rival sniper in Shooter?
I don't remember.
Shooter was about a sniper, but I don't think it had like a rival.
What about Wolverine? What about that sniper battle?
Oh yeah, that was pretty sick.
Unfortunately, nobody like rode a motorcycle out of an exploding barn in this movie.
Well, I'm not even going to see it now.
I listened to our review of Wolverine, and I described it in the show notes as more therapy session than review. But apparently, a lot of people dug it. I think it was a big catharsis.
I feel like for Liz and myself in particular, because I feel like we were the big Wolverine fanboys or fangirls and boys. I needed to vent.
But yeah, no, everyone was really emotional that episode. We were all really upset.
I'm not even that big of a fan of Wolverine. I'm just a fan of movies that make sense.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, something we didn't point out last week, actually, I got to go back. This is a mild spoiler, but not really, is near the end of the film, and remember, this is 1979, William Stryker has taken control of one of the characters using a computer. Mm-hmm. And he enters into the computer
decapitate.
The word decapitate. And the idea is that the guy on the screen will like actually do that. And that's just, I don't know, that was kind of ridiculous, right? I mean, first of all,
that like a joystick, like an Atari joystick, because it was like the early 80s when this movie was set, right?
Yeah, it was.
Been controlling him with that joystick and like one button.
Yeah, exactly. It's like really, the computer was that powerful to understand like all the permutations of like what would need to happen to get this guy to decapitate another guy. Like, it is terrible.
Yeah,
that was when I knew this movie is for kids.
Yes, Hurt Lock is not for kids, and it's awesome. So when you can see it, watch it.
Let me just make a correction. Actually, that's not when I knew that. I knew long before, but it was confirmed when he typed in decapitate. So,
okay.
But yes, Hurt Locker, Catherine Bigelow, amazing film, out in theaters this summer. I'm really looking forward to catching it myself. Adam Quigley, what have you been watching this week?
I've been watching this British comedy series called The In-Betweeners, which is about sort of the embarrassing misadventures of these 4 high school kids, or actually it's whatever the UK equivalent of what high school is. And it's absolutely hilarious. The relationship and the dialogue between the 4 main characters is just so brilliantly executed, and it's so relatable to what a lot of, I would assume, our high school experiences were like, or at least mine. They're basically just obsessed with trying to hook up with hot girls, and they constantly make fun of each other. And even though, because they're sort of just crude kids, we as an audience, I feel like, shouldn't like them. But there's just something so familiar about them, and they're so kind of innocent in the way they approach these topics that you can't help but sympathize with them. And I guess it also helps that we basically spend every episode watching them endure like humiliation upon humiliation. And every time it just like keeps escalating until you think it can't possibly get any worse. And then, of course, it does.
So is it the British Freaks and Geeks? That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I actually kind of, I would say, I feel like, yeah, if you like Freaks and Geeks, you'll probably find something similar to enjoy here, but they're very different in style. This is kind of like an R-rated show. Whereas
Okay.
Freaks and Geeks, I feel like had a little bit of innocence to it.
Yeah.
And I guess actually in a way, this show does too. It never feels malicious. Actually, if anything, it kind of embraces these sort of terrible moments in these kids' lives, because these are kind of the types of things, like the stuff that happens to them are the kind of things that we look back on in our own lives, those really embarrassing moments from our childhood. And you can't help but laugh, and that's kind of the way you can approach it here. So even though there's these horrible things happening that it's kind of like you feel bad for them, you can't help but laugh at it. And it's just it's really funny and really relatable, and I'm digging the hell out of it. Right now it's in its second series or season, and yeah, I'm not sure if there's a DVD release for it in the US yet, but anyway, you can check it out. Definitely do, and I'll probably mention it actually when it becomes available on DVD here.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely check it out. It's pretty great.
Yeah, I've been looking for a new British comedy because I just finished The IT Crowd, which is awesome. So yeah, I'll check this out.
Cool.
I want to actually, I didn't put this on the list, but I should give a brief shout out to 24 I've been keeping up with. And the last episode was Season 7, Episode 21, 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. Very inconvenient to tell like what the episode is by the name, because it's always like a time. There's no, and I'm not going to give away any spoilers because I know people are like at various parts of the series at this point probably. But I just want to say, I don't know if I pointed this out in the past, but I do really want to point this out, is that the one thing 24 is really good at is making you care about the secondary characters. Mm-hmm. Like, it'll be like you're following Jack the whole time. He's trying to stop some terrorist attack, whatever. And then the show will introduce this random person that you have no idea who they are. And they'll use some, like, really, like, crappy, like, sleazy way to, like, give this person some characterization. Yeah. I think the worst example of this was in, I think, Season 4 or 5, when whoever the president was on Air Force One, and Air Force One was about to crash. Like it was in danger of crashing. And the episode that it crashed, like at the beginning of that episode, it introduced the president's son for no reason other than that they were like, "Oh, hey, son, I'm working on a speech here. You want to help me out?" And the son's like, "Yeah, sure, Dad." And then they get to the end of the episode, and it's like, "Hey, son, like, this speech was really good. Thanks a lot for helping me." He's like, "You're welcome, Dad." And then, of course, like, all of them get killed in the crash. So it's just kind of some way of, like, making you, like, care about this person that you have no idea. But, of course, like...
I kind of dig it, though. Like, back in Season 1, where there was an episode where Jack just, like, meets this woman who's just, like, she was a waitress. And she was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and she gets stuck with him, and he steals her car. Yeah. But it's like these random asides that gives us a different view of the characters too. Yeah, but they're connected to the main characters. 24 great use of character actors everywhere, like throughout, and that's sort of what makes this. That's sort of what makes the secondary characters shine. Is they're usually great actors and actresses portraying them. And that's certainly true this season as well. This final plot arc. Features an introduction of a character. I'm not going to give away anything about this at all, but a character is introduced about 6 episodes to the end of this, before the end of the season, that is very sympathetic, and you're like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to this person? And the awesome thing about 24 is no compunction whatsoever about just killing off people you care about. Yep. Left and right. It's so they've really mastered the formula this season, Season 7 in Washington D.C. And I got to hand it to him. John Cassar and the executive producers, really good job this season. So yeah. Anything else we've been watching this week, guys? No, that's it. All right. If not, that brings us to the end of our What We've Been Watching segment. Give us a second. We're going to take a quick break and hear some messages from sponsors that are bringing us the show, bringing you guys the show today, I should say. And we'll be right back. This episode of the Slash Filmcast is brought to you by Underworld: Rise of the Lycans. The battle between vampires and Lycans begins in this action-packed prequel to the Underworld saga, starring Michael Sheen, Bill Nighy, and Rona Mitra. Underworld: Rise of the Lycans will be on Blu-ray, DVD, and PSP May 12th. All right, we are back from our break, and that brings us to the end of our What We've Been Watching segment and to our film news segment.
Again, you can find all the film news that we're going to be discussing today at /film.com, a great film blog. And if you haven't checked it out, you really should take a read there. But yeah, so a lot of film news happened this week. The first thing is that Keanu Reeves will star in Jekyll, a modern-day retelling of Robert Louis Stevenson's 1886 classic novella, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde for Universal Pictures. The film here, so first of all, that sounds awful, but the part that's really interesting is that the film will be directed by Nicholas Winding Refn, the filmmaker behind the Sundance hit Bronson and the 1996 Danish action crime thriller Pusher. And Peter Soretta wrote on /film.com, you may have heard David Chen ramble on about this film and the trilogy it spawned in a previous /filmcast. Thanks, Peter.
It's
really,
like Peter doesn't really respect what you.
Really speaking with a lot of respect about what it is we do here in the /filmcast. Thanks, Peter. Really appreciate that. Thank you. Anyway, the film is being scripted by Justin Haith, the BAFTA-nominated screenwriter of Revolutionary Road. Details of Haith's contemporary reimagining have not yet been revealed, but the original novella tells the tale of a London lawyer who investigates strange occurrences between his old friend Dr. Henry Jekyll and the misanthropic Mr. Edward Hyde. The story is best known for its portrayal of split personality, good versus evil, and coining the popular phrase Jekyll versus Hyde. Most adaptations tell the story from the viewpoint of Dr. Jekyll, eliminating the mystery aspect presented in the source material. But yeah, it's not clear exactly what's going to happen for this. So, and just so people know, this is unrelated to the Guillermo del Toro adaptation of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which went into development in 2008. Although, given the number of projects he's attached to, it might be a while before we ever see that one. So, I guess, what do you guys think of Keanu Reeves as Jekyll here?
I personally find it hilarious that he's following up The Day the Earth Stood Still, which everyone, he basically opened himself to be mocked. It's like he's playing an emotionless alien. Everyone's like, oh, it's hilarious. He's like Keanu Reeves playing someone that has to not show any emotion. And then now he's playing a role where he actually has to show just two distinctly different personalities, and it's once again just opening himself up to be mocked.
Well, are you saying people will always mock him? Because that's what it sounds like. It's like no matter what he does.
Kind of, but it's more like these two specific roles just seem very, like, Day There Stood Still, perfect casting for him because he has to play emotionless, and here it's like the opposite of perfect casting. It's like, what? Why would you get this guy to play two distinctly different personalities? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a Keanu Reeves apologist. I think he's good in certain things, and I really liked him in Constantine. And I mean, he was good in the Matrix films because that's really what he was. But I don't really know if this is really the best thing for him.
I mean, count me as one of the people that thought his performance in The Day the Earth Stood Still, in some ways, actually, dare I say, better than that of Klaatu in the original.
Sure.
And I say that because, he convinced me that he was more of an alien living in human skin.
You look at him and you wonder, how can he be human? Humans don't speak like that.
Exactly right. And I'm, of course, comparing him to the Michael Rennie, who plays Klaatu in the 1951 version of The Day the Earth Stood Still, but he played it straight, like a regular dude. He was like a normal human.
He was like a regular 50s guy.
Yeah, so there are a lot of things that were better about that version than the new version. But I actually kind of like Keanu Reeves in the new Klaatu. So that being said, yeah, you guys are right. This is a terrible idea. And the only reason that I think it can be salvaged is Nicholas Winding Refn is such a good filmmaker. Mm-hmm. I saw the first part of Bronson, and it is spectacular. Like, he is so good. I just can't, every single time this guy comes out with a movie, I'm like, I cannot wait to see what it is. So Nicholas Winding Refn, truly a master, and maybe that, I don't know. I'm trying to think of what his reasoning was for this. Maybe he's like.
I don't think it was his decision. This is Winding Refn. This is probably his first. This sounds like a big studio film, from the sounds of it. So I feel like here's a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde movie, and Keanu Reeves is starring. Make it happen.
I don't know. It's Universal. Universal's doing the film, but
much bigger than anything he's done before.
That is true. Although he is doing the Viking Chronicles or something,
right.
Which looked like a pretty big budget film. We're talking about Nicholas Winding Refn right now. But it's kind of like here's what I'm thinking of. Okay, it's kind of like, you guys know all those. Oh, I'm sorry, Valhalla Rising. That's what it's called.
Right.
which looks pretty amazing. It stars Mads Mikkelsen, and it should be really good. But
who would actually be a good actor for this
Oh,
role?
yeah, dude, Mads Mikkelsen. Why not just use Mads Mikkelsen, man?
You love him. Just use him again.
Yeah, use him again. He's been in a bunch of stuff.
Which makes me think, this is more of a mainstream film.
Okay, so it's kind of like She's All That or anything else where you have this situation in this high school where, like, the really popular person is like, oh, maybe I'll date that person and, like, make them beautiful and popular. That's how I feel about this situation. Maybe Nicholas Winding Refn's like, Keanu Reeves basically a joke as an actor for the most part, with exceptions like The Matrix.
Let me work with this.
And Constantine, yeah, this will be my crowning achievement.
This will be my greatest achievement ever.
Will be making Keanu Reeves into a good actor. That would be awesome, I think. If he was able to do it, it would be pretty glorious. I don't think he has I think he has the odds stacked against him. But we'll see what happens. So Keanu Reeves and Jekyll will bring you more news about that at slashfilm.com as it develops. All right, next piece of news. Movie Hole has learned some new details about the Will Smith-produced reimagining of The Karate Kid, which apparently is still going under the title The Karate Kid for some reason, even though The Kung Fu Kid was rumored a few months back. So that's really weird because Karate Kid, as we've established, doesn't make any sense because karate and kung fu are two different styles of fighting. Anyway, the film's plot is broadly the same as the original 1984 film, but with many little differences. Okay, guys, brace yourselves for this, okay? Because when I read this, I kind of was blown away by how horrible this is, okay? The Daniel LaRusso character, played by Jaden Smith, has been renamed Dre and is a skateboarding video game buff. With fear of layoffs looming over her U.S. job, Dre's single mother accepts an offer to transfer to the China office. Of course, unable to speak Chinese, Dre finds it hard to settle in and gets beat up by the local bully. The Mr. Miyagi character has been renamed Mr. Han, and it will be played by Jackie Chan. And he spots a black-eyed Dre practicing martial arts kicks as part of a Wii-style video game and agrees to teach him both martial arts and Chinese. The John Kreese character has been renamed Li Chuan Ha, I don't even know how to pronounce that, and I'm Chinese, and is now the owner of the Fighting Dragon School of Kung Fu. Clint has heard that the Chris Murphy penned remake is actually a good script, but I'm somewhat doubtful. That's Peter Serrata writing at slashfilm.com. So, guys, I thought I'd float these details out there. Take your temperature. What do you think?
I feel like we should stop talking about this movie.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to be completely irrelevant, especially given the fact that listed as the director on IMDb is Harold Zwart, whose previous films include Agent Cody Banks and The Pink Panther 2.
Nice. Oh, God. Pink Panther 2. That's sweetness right there. Recipe for success. Jaden Smith. My goodness. All right, well, since you guys aren't really enthusiastic about that, I guess we're going to have to move on to the movie trailer for Neville Dean Taylor's newest film.
Oh, yes.
So this film is called Gamer and tells the story of, Gerard Butler's character. Actually, let me just read the plot summary here. Gamer is a high-concept action thriller set in the near future, a time when mind control technology has taken society by storm. Humans control other humans in a mass-scale multiplayer online game. Reclusive billionaire Ken Castle, played by Michael C. Hall, has created the controversial form of entertainment, Slayers, a hugely popular game that allows millions to act out their inmost fantasies and desires online in front of a global audience. Gaming has evolved into a terrifying new dimension: mind control, mind manipulation, people playing people. At the center is Cable, and he's hardcore because Cable is spelled with a K. Nice. The superstar and cult hero of Slayers, the savage, ultra-violent first-person shooting game. And I'm not going to go too far into that, but that's the premise. People controlling people, freaking futuristic dystopian world. Here we go. Here's a trailer for Neville Dean Taylor's Gamer coming out September.
Cable? It's me. It's Simon. I'm playing you.
Turn me around.
Going live in 3, 2, 1.
They call it a game.
Slayer, the gamer, full control of a human being in full-scale combat.
But the players are real.
Every one of our slayers is a death row inmate. Stay alive for 30 sessions, you get set free. That's not a bad deal.
Some try to beat the system, but no one has ever survived.
Cable's a perfect soldier. He is what they want.
27 battles that was ever done. No man has ever come that close.
It ain't just a game. We're all slaves.
My husband, he's due to be released soon.
Your wife and your daughter need you. It's the only thing that keeps you alive.
We know where she is.
So I can beat them, not with you controlling me. You want to win? Turn me loose.
You're pulling all the strings around here.
I think if you do it, you're mine, boy.
All right, I think that's enough. Sorry, my computer's being choppy, but so that was an excerpt from the trailer for Gamer, the new Neville Dean Taylor film, which is going to be released on September 4th of 2009. These are the guys that brought you Crank and Crank 2, and I think the script for Pathology, right?
Yep, which is a really fucked up movie.
So, all right, so Gamer, what do you guys think?
I love these guys. So
yeah.
yes, give it to me. Just give me more. Whatever you have in your brain, just stick it in my veins, please.
Yeah, they know how to make really just sort of fun, cool movies, even if they're not necessarily the smartest movies out there. They definitely qualify as entertaining.
Yeah, but honestly, like I don't think they're just dumb. Like I feel like Crank 1 and Crank 2 also work on this like really, I don't know, like really interesting experimental level too. Like as filmmakers, they are doing cool and interesting things, which compared to somebody like say if Brett Ratner directed these movies, they would be completely empty and pointless.
Yeah, that's totally true.
Yeah, good point. This trailer looked to me like a couple of things stick out to me about this trailer. First thing is, if I did not know this was Neville Dean and Taylor, it would kind of be
sure.
Like it would look like a direct-to-DVD movie. Honestly,
it would look silly. Yeah.
It's a combination of Being John Malkovich and Death Race, if you can imagine a combination of those two things. Where there's guy controlling guys, but there's also this thing about inmates who play the game enough times and they win enough times, they're released. Hopefully, it will be closer in quality to Being John Malkovich than Death Race.
With bullets.
That sounds likely.
Yeah. But who knows? Who knows what will happen? And Ludacris is a bad actor, guys. Like, do you guys any thoughts on Ludacris as an actor? Like,
stop.
Yeah. I mean, it just whenever somebody on the Slash Film boards was like, watch Hustle and Flow and Crash, and then come back and tell me he's a bad actor. And I wanted to go back and tell him he's a bad actor.
he actually wasn't too bad in Hustle and Flow, but that's sort of because he was like playing himself, and that doesn't count.
Whenever I see Ludacris in a movie, it's always like, here's Ludacris reading lines. It's never like here's an actor.
Whereas I feel like a couple other rappers, like I feel like Common, at least feels like he tries to play a role. Like you look at him in Smoking Aces or something, he feels like an actor, not a rapper. Ludacris always feels like a rapper.
Yeah, Will.i.am maybe also falls into that category. I'm trying to think of any other.
No. Okay, Dave.
No. In terms of the category of
Mos Def, I think Mos Def does. I like him.
He is okay.
It's
like
hilarious.
He's good sometimes.
Yeah,
he's good sometimes. Sometimes he's not very good. But like I thought he was good in Be Kind Rewind, for example. That was good.
I like Mos Def. I think actually, I look at Mos Def actually as more of an actor than I do a musician, just because
I liked him in what was it, Italian Job?
Yeah, he was good. He was in Italian Job.
One of the few things I liked in that movie.
Oh, he was also good. Dude, I'm looking over his filmography. He was also good in The Woodsman, which is the 2004 Kevin Bacon film where Bacon plays a pedophile.
Was it that poster with him and the ball?
Yeah.
He also wasn't bad in Hitchhiker's Guide.
Yep.
Yeah, agreed. Do any of you guys see The Woodsman?
No.
So I thought Kevin Bacon did a pretty good job in that movie about it's just about this guy who is struggling with life after he's been convicted of a sex crime. but it just struck me as really weird that movie would ever get made. You know, like just like it's good that like people are making movies about boundary pushing subjects, but it's just like, what is the target audience for that movie? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
and they didn't do it like Little Children, like where the he is the main character in the film. He's not like a side character who everyone is responding to or something, right?
Right. Yeah, the main character is the pedophile.
Whereas Little Children tries to, it does that while also showing you, the malaise of suburbia and all that crap.
Right. It's just about this guy.
So to go even further off topic here, though, why is it that Kevin Bacon always plays like pedophiles and rapists? What is the deal with that?
That was Kevin
Does
Bacon.
he have an Oscar yet?
Yeah, that was Kevin Bacon at sort of his, a lot of people commented on the fact that that was the role he was born to play. Not because he's a pedophile, but just because in every single movie he's always this like really sketchy guy. Like even when he's not sketchy, he's always like this guy that you're kind of like.
You always have to look over your shoulder when Kevin Bacon's in the room.
Yeah, he's just kind of not right,
I wonder how that affects his personal life.
It's interesting because Kyra Sedgwick, who is his real life wife, actually plays his love interest in that film. So that's kind of an interesting dynamic. And actually, to bring it full circle, Kyra Sedgwick plays a character in Gamer, the trailer we just watched.
Yeah, that was awesome, Dave. Good job.
Have you guys seen? You guys see The Closer? By any chance?
Yeah, that's a fun show. She's really cool.
Yeah, she strikes me as a really good actress.
That is one of those procedurals where it's beyond anything else. It's pretty average, but she is good. And they also stole their opening credit sequences from The Shield. Have you seen that show, Dave?
I've seen like a couple episodes.
They do the thing where like they'll do a scene and then cut to black in the credits, and then continue with it. So it's like a back and forth between the black and the credits.
I see. Will the credits like text shake around? Like on the show?
No, they don't shake around.
Okay.
That's the one original thing they did. This time they hold the credits still.
Nice.
Yeah, because that's easier to do. So anyway, Gamer, Michael C. Hall.
Oh yeah.
His accent was kind of iffy, but I like seeing him in scary roles now after Dexter, which is I feel like he's good in Dexter, but that show has limits in terms of how good it can be. So I'd like to see him branch out a little.
It would be. It seems like again the Death Race comparison, right? It's like watching a really good actor be like the warden. In that movie, it was like Joan Allen. Bizarrely, I don't know why she was. I don't remember who said it. Maybe it was one of the guys at Chud.com said it, or I don't remember. But like Joan Allen, or maybe it was Eric Snyder. I don't know. But Joan Allen got confused about which director Anderson it was.
Yeah.
When she signed up for that film, and Michael C. Hall, fantastic actor, and you're really going to be hamming it up in this movie. And I think there's something about us all that can enjoy, that. It's like listening to Carl Castle do like wait, don't tell me, It's just kind of like, oh, this is fun, You can watch a good actor sort of just let loose.
You haven't seen any Dexter, right, Dave?
No, I don't. But I have the Blu-rays of season 1 and 2 on my shelf.
What are they doing just sitting there?
Yeah, I'm a bad person.
The one thing I actually noticed about Michael C. Hall in the trailer was that he actually had a fair amount of screen time. It was basically him and Gerard Butler. And I actually heard about the script for Gamer. Apparently, Michael C. Hall isn't actually in it that much. So it kind of seems like maybe they're trying to market it down on those two actors. And then we didn't even see, I don't think, any of Alison Lohman or Milo Ventimiglia. How do you pronounce his name?
Yeah. Was he the kid or is he someone else?
No, he's someone else. The kid is Logan Lerman, who was also the kid in what was the Christian Bale and Russell Crowe Western 3:10 to Yuma.
Oh, he wasn't bad in that. Okay.
But yeah, that Milo actor, what is he? He's in Heroes, and was he also in The Sopranos? No. That was
no, he was in Rocky, the new Rocky.
Gotcha. And he's also in Pathology.
Yeah, there you go, Pathology.
Gotcha.
You really should see Pathology, Dave, because that movie does some really fucked up things, which you won't see in many other movies.
I was thinking of John Ventimiglia, who plays the Artie, the restaurant owner in The Sopranos, by the way. But same last name that's long. But Pathology. Like, what was up with this movie? It was not in theaters at all, right?
I don't know if it was ever in theaters.
This is a 2008 film directed by Mark Scholerman, written by Neville Dean Taylor. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that it ever got a wide theatrical release, but it was good.
It was interesting.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm glad I watched it, but I wouldn't say it was a good movie.
Yeah. It's really fucked up. And you will watch it because it's really fucked up.
I just remember the Red Band trailer for that being like pretty troubling and pretty like boundary pushing in terms of what could go on a Red Band.
Yep.
But I should check out Pathology. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to me that these guys like they've written and directed 3 films, right? Crank 2 and Gamer. And then that's the one film they wrote and didn't direct. So I'm wondering, like, what went behind that? Did they just not have enough time? Did they, did they not think they were good for it? Like, I wonder what that was all about. But
yeah,
I mean, was it like something that? Do you think Mark Schollerman, the director of Pathology, like duplicated their style at all, or?
No, I mean it's completely different stylistically.
Right. Maybe that's why.
I don't know. Sometimes people just want to write scripts.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. Anyway, all right, so moving on, next bit of news. Bradley Cooper, who stars in the upcoming summer comedy The Hangover, which I think we're going to be watching in a few weeks for Slash Filmcast, and it apparently is really good. He may be close to being cast as the Green Lantern. So, yeah, this is the Warner Brothers production of the Green Lantern, which is going to be directed by Martin Campbell, the guy who did GoldenEye and Casino Royale, and I think also Mask of Zorro. There's going to be a massive $150 million budget, shooting set for July in Sydney, Australia. So, this is Warner Brothers, the guys that did The Dark Knight, and, the studio that did The Dark Knight, I should say. Thought I'd just float this out there, see what you guys think of Bradley Cooper. Bradley Cooper, for those who don't know, is sort of, up until this point, has been somewhat of a character actor, although unlike Stephen Tobolowsky's criteria, he is not fat or bald. Which Stephen Tobolowsky on the show said, if you're a character actor, you have to be one of those things. But yeah, he was in he was the main character in The Midnight Meat Train.
Yeah, I think that was his first big movie, I think.
That was the first movie where he was like the main
guy.
Yeah, the main actor, I think. But he was also obviously a side character in Wedding Crashers,
which he was hilarious in.
He was very good in that.
He was good. He was also the best friend character in Alias, which I know him from, which is why I think this is good news. I like him as an actor.
Right. And he's been in a bunch of other stuff like Nip Tuck, Kitchen Confidential, and stuff like that.
So, Kitchen Confidential was his show. Like, he was the star in that show.
Right.
So that was his thing, and that went nowhere. But I actually kind of dug that show too.
So what do you guys think of Bradley Cooper and taking on sort of a main action role?
I mean, I think he'll be fine. I think he's a good actor. The thing is, I do not care about this character at all. But I do care about Martin Campbell. Because he is a man who gave us pretty much my 2 favorite James Bond movies. So I want to see what he does next.
Any thoughts, Adam Quigley?
I'm psyched for this news. I hope it actually turns out to be true. I definitely think he'd be good in the role. I'm not hugely familiar with the Green Lantern, but from what I do know about the character, it seems like a cool fit. And yeah, I agree with Devindra, Martin Campbell. Casino Royale, awesome Bond movie.
I just worry if it's coming out like too late. I feel like we are at the tail end for just picking any random comic book character and making a movie out of him and hoping he's successful. Like, I feel like we're reaching the end of this bubble.
You think so?
But I've always felt like the Green Lantern would make a very visually stunning, at least, a movie, and so I've been eager to see it actually get into production.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that.
Now, as likable as an actor as Bradley Cooper, I'm actually finally starting to get pumped for this movie.
It's interesting you say that, Devindra, because it's like we're about to see
we're going to see a crap load.
A crap load of superhero movies, the likes of which we have never seen before, ever. Going to be like 2 or 3 major like comic book hero movies a year for the next 3-4 years at least.
I feel like in any of these hype cycles where they're like, oh man, these movies are doing so well, let's make more and more and more, and no one is looking at the point where, you know what, maybe we should chill off for a bit. Maybe we should relax. Just because it's very easy, just as easily as the public started liking these movies and you were successful with Spider-Man and X-Men and everything. After a point, people just won't care anymore either. So I don't know. I'm just worried that a lot of these movies are going to start getting made and just completely fall flat.
Yeah, and it'll be hard to distinguish them from each other, and the public it'll be hard to muster interest in the public. So But again, it'll be very interesting to see how this whole Marvel thing leading up to the Avengers plays out.
Yeah.
There's actually a debate going on in the chat right now about Iron Man, and B.F. Frito says Iron Man shows how you can take a secondary comic book character and actually make a good movie out of it, and then people are saying he's not a secondary comic character. But I actually do think that he is sort of not that well known, and I actually, honestly, I've kind of realized that when you take a character that isn't that well known, it sort of gives you the freedom to sort of mess around with the story, and it basically lets you focus on making a good movie over pleasing the fans. And so, honestly, I'm actually excited to see sort of lesser-known superheroes make it to the big screen, just because hopefully that will be the goal, is just making a good movie, and then there won't be people constantly watching the development going, hey, you can't do that. That's not the proper origin.
That worked well with Blade and Blade 2, but then sort of Blade 3 just fell apart for other reasons. But yeah, I mean, I see your point.
I actually want to point out you're bringing up earlier about how Bradley Cooper. I watched the first season of Alias, and he was pretty good. He was the best friend character in that, right? Was he only in the pilot, or was that something else?
Oh, he was there. He was throughout the whole series.
Okay, I'm sorry. I remember someone died early on in the series, right? That wasn't him, though. That was not.
That was not him.
Okay.
The whole point of that series, it wasn't him.
But I want to read off a segment of a letter from Connor from Brooklyn, who's a recent listener to the show. And he says, if you're going to insist on repeatedly praising Mission Impossible 3, you're going to force me to point out that MI3 is just a big-budget episode of Alias, which is another way of saying it's not good. The structure of the movie, starting 3/4 of the way into the movie's timeline with the protagonist captured and bound by the villain, and then following that scene starting at the beginning of the story, only to repeat that opening scene a ways into the story with additional edits and shots so that we can see how the hero will escape right before the climax, was done 5 or 6 times at least in Alias. And this is, first of all, in all fairness, Connor from Brooklyn, this is actually something Devindra pointed out, which is that, MI3 is a big-budget version of Alias.
Yeah, and that is exactly what I loved about it. Yeah.
Because you liked Alias, and you
loved Alias, and the thing is, Alias never got as it was a good show, but now that I think about it, I realize not many people actually watched it as much as other shows that Abrams is attached to, like Lost or something. It never got that mainstream appeal. And there's he has a lot of techniques that I'm sure many people haven't seen before. So if he reuses them in MI3 and sort of hones them and makes them better, then I'm all for it. And I feel like he's even reused some of his technique in Star Trek as well, which I'll bring up in the review.
Yeah, for sure. So,
Wait, so is he saying he doesn't like Alias? Or?
Yeah, I think he's saying it looks like a big-budget version of Alias, and that's a bad thing, because I think he's saying Alias is... I don't know. He's not... Connor from Brooklyn, you're not very specific here about your thoughts on Alias. So, you can't...
I mean, a lot of people... What was it? Devin from Chud also issued the same complaint in MI3. Like, he was saying it was not... What was it? It wasn't cinematic enough or something.
It looked like he was shooting for TV or something.
Which is a complete bullshit argument, because I feel like the best thing about Alias was how it brought cinematic sensibilities to television. And that show, 2001 was when we started seeing Alias and 24, and we started seeing really cinematic visuals on our television screens. And I feel like that that led to Lost, that led to Heroes, it led to a lot of things.
Yeah. I agree completely, Devindra. So I love the way that Lost looks, and Mission Impossible 3 looks, and some of how later Alias looks. So I think the pilot, he was still kind of refining his craft there. But
definitely.
But it's the logical conclusion. MI3 is the logical conclusion. Mm-hmm. Anyway, moving on. So there's some big news this week when it was announced, or according to Chud.com. The guy, Brett Ratner, was taken off the Conan the Barbarian project. And according to Chud, the guy who is replacing him is James McTeague, the director of V for Vendetta and the upcoming Ninja Assassin. So, this is pretty big news for a major franchise. And thought I'd ask you guys what you thought of James McTeague.
I like James McTeague. I really dug V for Vendetta. I think Ninja Assassins looks really cool. And you know what? If he's doing it, the Wachowskis are going to be in there in the background somewhere too. So I'm all for this.
Very possible. According to...
it's also hard just not to feel optimistic after finding out Brett Ratner's not going to be doing it.
Yeah.
So that coupled with the fact that
it's better.
James
it's
McTeague, someone's actually made a really good movie, V for Vendetta, it's just... you have to feel happiness inside.
It's interesting. I was at the Independent Film Festival Boston, IFFBoston.org, and we were watching this documentary called "I Knew It Was You," rediscovering John Cazale. And John Cazale is an actor who was in 5 movies. Each of the 5 movies he was in was nominated for Best Picture. And very few people know who the hell he is. But he was the guy that played Fredo in the Godfather films.
Okay. And
I Knew It Was You, of course, being that iconic line that Al Pacino says to him, "I knew it was you, Fredo." There's a very good documentary. And, it really brings to light sort of the greatness of John Cazale. Has lots of interviews with, stars like Al Pacino, Philip Seymour Hoffman. The reason I'm bringing it up, though, is because... So I'm at the Independent Film Festival of Boston. It's you can tell the type of crowd that would go to the Independent Film Festival of Boston, right? They're people that they're cinephiles. They like their movies.
They're the posers.
They like a specific type of movies.
Okay.
No, they're not posers, Devindra. I mean, are you calling me a poser right now?
No, I'm saying the crowd is the cinephiles, the people who know what they're watching, and then the posers.
Oh, and then the posers. Got it. Yeah.
Yes.
And what was interesting was the movie started. And right at the beginning of the movie, it was Brett Ratner presents, and there's literally, I'd say a good quarter of the audience started laughing at the fact that it was Brett Ratner presents this.
And then you felt like you were at home.
John Cazale is one of the greatest actors, of that time period, and his life was cut short by lung cancer. But it is interesting because everyone's all in this to see this movie about this actor who's kind of obscure but kind of not obscure. And Brett Ratner's name comes to the screen, and that's enough to provoke laughter. I felt a little bad because the producer of the film was there, sitting in the audience. So I wonder what they felt when everyone was laughing at the fact that Brett Ratner had produced the film.
It's like, hey guys, what's so funny?
But
I'll laugh too.
Yeah, exactly. But for those of you who are interested, I Knew It Was You, Rediscovering John Cazale. Directed by Richard Shepard, and it will be on HBO at some point in the future. So I highly recommend that documentary. Anyway, guys, we are going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with our review of Star Trek, which may or may not happen with the help of Rian Johnson, the director of Brick and The Brothers Bloom.
All right.
So we'll be right back. We'll take a break, hear a word from our sponsors, and we'll catch you on the flip side with our review of J.J. Abrams' Star Trek. This week's episode of the Slash Filmcast is brought to you by Bonnaroo.co.uk, the State Department of Fashion Corrections. New movie tribute t-shirts currently available on their site include tees for The Rock, Charlie Varick, Top Secret, and Highlander in sizes up to 5XL. American customers can enter the promo code FILMCAST for free shipping. Again, that's Bonnaroo, Bonnaroo.co.uk. All right, we are back from our break, and that brings us to the end of our film news segment and to our review of J.J. Abrams' Star Trek.
My name is James Tiberius Kirk.
You've always had a hard time finding your place in this world, haven't you? Never knowing your true worth. You can settle for a less than ordinary life. Or do you feel like you were meant for something better? Something special?
You will always be a child of two worlds, and fully capable of deciding your own destiny. The question you face is, which path will you choose?
Are you afraid or aren't you? I will not allow you to lecture me. Then why do you stop me?
Prepare to fire all weapons.
I like this ship. It's exciting.
Space is disease and danger, wrapped in darkness and silence.
Buckle up. The wait is over.
And that is the really badass trailer for J.J. Abrams' Star Trek, starring Zachary Quinto and Chris Pine, amongst others. Was released in theaters this past Friday. This is the Slash Filmcast, the official podcast of SlashFilm.com. You can find all of our back episodes at SlashFilmcast.com. And tonight we're joined by a very special guest. Rian Johnson first burst onto the scene in 2005 with the independent film Brick, which won the 2005 Sundance Film Festival Special Jury Prize for Originality of Vision. His newest film, The Brothers Bloom, which stars Mark Ruffalo and Adrian Brody and Rachel Weisz, will be released in limited theaters in New York and LA this Friday on May 15th and will expand to more theaters and cities in the following weeks. Rian Johnson, thanks so much for joining us tonight on the Slash Filmcast.
Thanks for having me on, David.
So you just had you just screened your Brothers Bloom to an audience of advertising executives, I believe. How did that go?
It was thrilling. It was pretty thrilling. Yeah, no, I've decided to try and see if I can jam my foot in the door of doing commercials in between movies, because I've found that it's, when you write and direct movies, it tends to be like 4 years in between having a movie. So in order to keep myself busy, I figured I'd give this a shot. So we'll see. I don't know.
I got to ask you, is there any product that you, if you had your choice, which product would you endorse?
Viagra, 100% of the time.
Nice.
No, I have no clue. Yeah, what was that?
I said it's the future. It's one thing you can depend on.
Yeah, precisely. No, I'm not product specific. I will whore myself out to any terrible product at all.
Well, your integrity is inspiring for those of us who are just thinking of starting out in the film industry.
I didn't think that I bought in.
I'm sorry, you said you bought in? Is that what you said? Oh man, we're getting some bad reception with AT&T here.
Hey, sorry about that.
Yo, we lost you for a second. Apparently AT&T's network isn't that good where you are right now.
In New York, it's actually pretty lousy. It comes and goes, I think.
So you're in a cab. You're in a cab riding away from the screening.
I am.
Right? So
this is the taxi cab confessions version of the Filmcast.
Okay, all right, awesome. So halfway through this, you might switch over to Skype or something like that. So just so people know.
Yes.
So we're really grateful that you've chosen to spend your Monday evening with us, and I assume I actually didn't have a chance to check this with you, but you have seen Star Trek, right?
I have, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Awesome. So why don't you tell us a little bit about sort of your relationship with the series? Are you a Trekkie or anything like that? And then what did you think of J.J. Abrams' film? Was it a good sci-fi film, do you think?
Well, I'm absolutely 100% not a Trekkie. Like everyone, I was aware of the original series. I caught an episode or two, but I never followed it. And besides kind of the greatest hits, I don't know the series intimately. I think most of my knowledge of Star Trek, probably like most of us, comes from the movies. And for me, Wrath of Khan was a kind of pivotal childhood film, and that opening scene where they put the worms into the guy's ears is, I think, forever seared onto my conscious mind. So I think that was kind of that's the Empire Strikes Back, I think, of the Star Trek universe for me. And then, as a kid growing up, so even the one where they save the whales, I really enjoyed. It probably isn't that great a movie, actually, but stuff like that. So I guess I don't have a strong investment in the Star Trek universe. And so I went into this movie with just, a little bit, without a ton of expectations one way or the other. And I guess this is probably, in some ways, this might be the most boring movie in the world to review right now, because everyone, it seems, has just kind of liked it. Yeah. And I'm the same way. I dug it. I thought it was really fun. I thought it was a fun ride. I thought it was especially impressive with the actors. How, hold on, we're pulling up to my hotel right now. I have to tell the cab driver to stop. Right here, on the right, it's fine. Right here. You're going to hear me pay for the cab while I'm mid-review.
Awesome.
J.J. Abrams is crying right now at my lack of respect for his revamping of this franchise. Here you go. I just got 8-pack. You heard me. You're hearing me tip as I... Thank you very much, man. Have a good night. All right, stepping out of the cab. So what I was especially impressed with was actually the actors' work and the way that everybody from Chris Pine to Zachary. How do you pronounce his last name?
Quinto.
Yeah.
How they all seem like they tag the bases in terms of making the characters familiar, but at the same time were able to make them something new. They were able to make them feel like new creations. And honestly, I would eagerly go see another movie with these people. You know, it didn't feel like an imitation of Star Trek. It felt like it brought it to life. You know, and there's nitpicks that I could have about different stuff, but overall, I just thought it was a really fun ride.
Yeah, hold on, wait, Ryan. Do you need to? I just want to be conscious. Do you need to go up to your hotel room or anything like that? I mean,
I do. Give me 2 minutes. I'll be able to log on from Skype.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll take a break. We'll be back with you. Okay.
All right, man. I'll be right back.
All right. Yeah.
Okay.
So, Ryan Johnson, you are on Skype now, and you're just telling us how you were impressed by the acting in Star Trek, right?
Yeah, well, and specifically the way that the actors, like I said, you felt like they tagged the bases in terms of making these characters that we all obviously recognize from previous versions of them, making them feel consistent. At the same time, I didn't feel like they were just mimicking. I felt like they were actually bringing these characters to life, and I would absolutely see another movie with this cast of people in it. I'd look forward to it, and so that's a sign of success for me.
Before I move on to, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I'd be interested to hear what you guys think.
Before I move on to Devindra and Adam, I'm wondering. So your next film is a sci-fi film, Looper. I'm wondering, sort of, if seeing this film in any way informs what you're thinking about your next film, or are you like,
not?
Yeah, go ahead.
Not really. It's pretty different. It's got kind of a there's a I don't know if are we being careful of spoilers here with Star Trek?
Yeah. Let's be careful about spoilers.
Yeah, for now.
Yeah, for now.
Okay, there's a big element in the plot in Star Trek which broadly has a similar thing in what I'm writing.
Oh right, yeah. No, I know
but it's really such a different movie, and so no, science fiction is one of, I think, the broadest genre, imaginable. Something that can hold both, this Star Trek film and Primer in the same underneath its watchful gaze is a pretty broad genre. So no, I don't think there was anything specific.
All right, so Adam Quigley, I've been very curious to hear what you think of Star Trek, because I think you have no association with the series whatsoever.
Yeah, I kind of already hinted about that in past episodes.
Yeah,
I'm not a Trekkie at all, like Ryan. I like Wrath of Khan, and I like First Contact, but other than that, I really have not enjoyed or even remotely cared about any of the other films or the TV series.
In middle school, you sat at the lunch table next to the Trekkie table, and you made fun of them, right? That was your role.
No, I've never
you sat at the Star Wars table.
Yeah, you sat at the Star Wars table. Yeah.
No, so I was always kind of sort of disassociated from both Star Wars and Star Trek, but I always liked Star Wars more than Star Trek. Now, though, just J.J. Abrams, he's come in, and he's kind of done exactly what I think a lot of Trekkies were fearing, and was even mocked in that hilarious video from The Onion. But basically, he's given the franchise mainstream appeal, and even though normally that would sound like a bad thing, kind of like it was in X-Men Origins Wolverine, J.J. Abrams, I feel like he knows that just because you're making an audience-friendly action movie, that doesn't necessarily mean you should just sloppily rush from action set piece to action set piece. And when you watch this film, there's this genuine sense of excitement and enthusiasm on display. And J.J. Abrams, I feel like, just does such a great job of conveying that in his direction. That said, I really don't think this is what you would call a smart movie. Aside from the time travel plot device, which I actually thought was actually kind of an ingenious way to reboot the franchise without abandoning the continuity of the rest of the series. The storyline is really simplistic and kind of formulaic, and the dialogue actually is kind of weak as well. You really can in no way argue that this is an intellectually stimulating movie.
Oh, sure. I mean, it's not trying to be like the classic Trek, which is, all about, I wouldn't say good dialogue, but, it's more about thought and what the basic ideas of Star Trek, whereas this one is less about the ideas.
But it is fun. That it's just so much fun. The action and visual effects in the movie are just absolutely stunning. The movie is incredibly well paced. It's probably one of the best paced action movies I think I've ever seen. There are just tons of great character moments. Pretty much all the actors are great, like Ryan was saying. And I just totally agree. Zachary Quinto I thought was fantastic as Spock.
Yeah, and we were having doubts because you guys were saying, I don't watch Heroes, but you guys were saying he is not necessarily that good in Heroes, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I always liked him in Heroes, but it kind of feels like...
It was like a one-note performance that he just had to
Right.
keep making over and over again.
Right. I mean, and to be fair, Spock actually kind of has similarities in the emotionless way he has to play the character. But I don't know, there's so much subtlety in what he brings to that.
I feel like it's hard to simplify that as just him being emotionless, because like it's also like a sort of quiet performance that you have to show a certain amount of rage, at a click of a button or something.
Yeah, I actually totally agree with that. I feel like in a way he actually shows more emotion than any of the characters in the film.
Oh, well said. Well said. That should go on the
basically,
poster.
I just feel like the movie was everything I would hope from a summer blockbuster, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. One thing I will say, it was a lot more comedic than I expected it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it actually kind of verges on like pure slapstick. But for me, everything about the film just really worked. I thought J.J. Abrams' direction in it was just amazing. And yeah, it was just an all-around really, really fun action movie.
Devindra Hardwar, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I love this movie as well, but let me just say a few things. I think giving the Star Trek series like a dose of kiss, kiss, bang, bang, in the sense that, it's more of an action movie now. And actually, the more I think about it, this movie really reminds me of Star Trek Episode 4, A New Hope. There's so many similarities.
Star Wars Episode 4.
Yeah, Star Wars, yeah. But there's so many similarities, and it's kind of interesting because this movie is about the hero's journey for Kirk, and it's not about, the stuff that Star Trek necessarily... I've always thought Star Trek was really, sort of about the big ideas of being in a future where, humanity has to interact with all these different races and considering diplomacy and all that stuff. At least from Next Generation, that's what I gathered. This movie does not have an intellectual bone in its body, but it is completely badass and kick-ass, and I think it succeeds at being that. And I'll talk more about the Star Wars stuff later in the spoiler section.
During the spoiler section, okay. So just so people know, I think I'm probably the biggest Star Trek fan going into this. I was a huge fan of, especially the Next Generation, but I also watched a bunch of the other series. But the Next Generation was really, that was when I came of age, growing up, watching Next Generation, sort of seeing and embracing the cool ideas around Star Trek and sort of the idea of exploration, the idea of the Prime Directive and this whole morality, the future socialist society that is portrayed in Star Trek universe. All that stuff struck me as pretty cool and, futuristic and stuff like that. And then I saw Star Trek Nemesis. Have any of you seen Star Trek Nemesis?
I've actually seen
yes,
that.
I have.
It's terrible.
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh well, Ryan Johnson. It is a terrible film. It's directed by Stuart. It's directed by Stuart Baird, who I think did Executive Decision and some other stuff like that. And it is god awful. Like again, yeah. I've said this like 5 times already on the Slash Filmcast, but the rule of Star Trek movies is. The even number ones are good, the odd number ones are bad, and every 5th movie is horrible. And that is true of Star Trek Nemesis, which is the 10th film. Just completely just murdered the franchise. Not only was it a bad film, it didn't make a lot of money either. And it was basically like I was afraid we would never see or hear from Star Trek again after the last series, Enterprise, was canceled in 2005. So then this movie coming out, and so I'm torn between 2 things walking into this movie, right? Number one is like, okay, I'm really glad that Star Trek is still alive, because this is something that sort of is one of the things that I knew growing up. It's kind of shaped the way I am as a geek in some ways, like sort of my tastes and stuff like that. And now it's finally going to be back, but they have apparently changed everything about it. Like the trailer, it had what appeared to be sex, but is actually just them making out. It had all this like crazy action. It was just like it's not what you think of when you think of Star Trek. And actually, the tagline for the TV spot is "This is not your father's Star Trek." So I was torn between these 2 impulses. Number one, I love the fact that it's going to be brought back, and it looks really sexy and exciting. On the other hand, I'm kind of like, well, are they getting too far away from what we know of as Star Trek for it to really be a true Star Trek film? And I leave a little bit unresolved on that latter point. First of all, let me just say I love the film. I've seen it twice, and I'm probably going to see it another time.
Yeah, I've seen it twice as well within a span of 4 days,
Yeah.
which is that never happens.
I saw it in IMAX the second time, and actually that was it was a really good IMAX experience. Like I would say 99% of the film's shots were improved. Seeing it blown up in IMAX, it looked beautiful. The opening 10 minutes of the film were just amazing, like just spectacular and moving, and exactly what you would hope from a J.J. Abrams opening.
Yeah, amazing. Although I do question the choice of who they cast as Kirk's father.
Because I feel like
he's a terrible actor.
He was like a jock. He was like he reminded me. It was
like, hey guys, we got a ship. It's blown up. It's just terrible. It was not good
weird
at all.
But I wrote in my review of Star Trek, which you can find at /film.com, that Star Trek is the reason why we go to the movies. We go for the spectacle, for a simple story of good overcoming evil, for the charismatic charms of a strong leading man, and for the visceral thrill of an all-out assault on our visual and oral senses. And I think that's in those regards, it delivers spectacularly. Like it really is a really fun time. I've mentioned before how J.J. Abrams is really good at pacing the action in his films. Like some action movies aren't I'm thinking of, for example, Fast and Furious, which was released recently, like long stretches of stuff where nothing is happening, you don't care about what's going on screen. J.J. Abrams always knows, just when you're starting to get a little bit bored, he'll throw in some kind of action scene for you, even when it makes no sense for it to be there.
And maybe he overdoes it a little.
Yeah, he overdoes it.
There are at least two scenes which I feel could have been cut.
Exactly.
And the movie wouldn't have suffered.
And the scenes that were quite expensive, it looked like.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like just when you think you're getting a little bored, he throws in these action scenes, and it keeps you entertained all the way through. It's like you never lose your attention. It's a great ride, and
I feel like he's a master of spectacle. He is a great showman. He knows exactly what to give the audience and when to move us along, and he just gets everything down pat, I'd say.
The film looks gorgeous. ILM, who J.J. Abrams used to such great effect in Mission Impossible 3, now they really get the chance to strut their stuff here. Visuals that were so unforgettable to me. Like, I kept watching the trailer. After I saw the movie, I kept watching the trailer over and over again, being like, man, I can't wait to see that scene again on the big screen. And it's just such a gorgeous film, and the acting is Chris Pine. I mean, this guy is so good.
Who is this guy?
And where did he come from? And how awesome is he? He's so charismatic. Yeah. And I mean, come on, guys. He's pretty hot, right? He's just really.
He was fantastic. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
He had such charisma, though. Yeah. He really did. I gotta say, he was the big shocker of the film for me. He was the one who I thought he was the one that I was like, wow, just like you guys said, it was like, who is that? Yeah.
I mean, he didn't try to. His character is very much the same as Kirk's character, in the sense that I'm sorry, and when I say Kirk, I mean William Shatner's Kirk, right? So the Kirk of the old series was rebellious, disregarded orders, did his own thing, and this Kirk is very much the same way, and that's exemplified by this random scene where he apparently takes his dad's convertible and plays Beastie Boys, blast Beastie Boys to his Nokia radio, and
his Nokia cell phone.
Yeah,
it's a future, Dave.
Nokia survived the next 300 years, so that's good for them. And drives a car over the cliff for some reason. I guess because he really didn't like his dad. Or his stepdad, I should say.
Stepdad, or uncle, whatever.
Well, at least the scene made more sense than it did in the trailer.
Yeah, sure. It was awesome. The thing is, he even got the music beat down perfectly.
Oh yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, the editing of the music was really great. But the point being that he's rebellious, like the old Kirk, but he doesn't use any of William Shatner's acting style. He very much makes the character his own. Right.
Yeah, he feels more like Han Solo than he does William Shatner's Kirk.
Yeah. Very good comparison. And,
take a drink after every Star Wars comparison in this review.
Because they're actually, it is a lot like Star Wars.
Everything, yeah.
We've talked a lot in the past about how there's a difference between embodying a certain character and imitating a certain character. And I would say Zachary Quinto and Chris Pine very much embodied the characters of Kirk and Spock, whereas other people like Carl Urban, who did a fantastic job imitating DeForest Kelly's Bones character, but it didn't feel very much more than just an impersonation. Ditto Anton.
Whoa there, Dave.
Oh, I don't
Are
know
you
about
serious?
that.
Okay,
Are you
all right.
serious?
I disagree with that.
Okay. Let me take that back then. He did a really good job. But Anton Yelchin as Chekhov, I think, like it always sounded to me like it was Anton Yelchin doing a Chekhov voice and not like a young Chekhov.
Yeah. I'm not even a fan of Star Trek, so I'm not even familiar with that character. And even I could tell that it was just an impersonation, it was just an impression. Yeah. And that kind of bothered me. It took me out of the movie every time. That really thick. It wasn't necessarily a bad accent. It was more just it felt like he was trying really hard.
Trying too hard. Yeah. Which is interesting because he was actually born in Russia, and he is Russian.
So but I mean, other than that, the acting in this movie was so uniformly good.
I would say so, but go back to Carl Urban, Dave. Like, seriously, that was an imitation to you? Carl Urban. Here's a guy who was the villain in The Bourne Supremacy. You know? He had basically no lines, but he carried, like, this huge, like, sense of just, complete antagonism in that movie with very little dialogue. And, he was in a lot of stuff, and actually he used to work with Kurtzman Orsi on Xena and Hercules. He was Caesar in that series. This is a guy who played Caesar on Xena and Hercules, and here he is, like a buff guy playing Bones. It's shocking that this works.
Okay. Aloha Burger in the chat room says brings up Doom, and if you just compare the character he played in Doom to this, it's just like you can't even believe they're the same people. Yep. I still have trouble believing it.
All right. Well, I take back everything I said about Carl Urban then, and if anything,
don't concede.
No.
Don't get around that easily.
They're right though. They're right in this situation. So sometimes I'll hold my ground, but this time they're right. And
I would say Eric Bana, who I was actually really looking forward to as the villain, sort of fell flat just because the villain wasn't that well written.
Yeah, the villain character is very one-dimensional. Ryan Johnson, what did you think of Nero, the villain character played by Eric Bana?
There just wasn't a lot. I mean, I think Bona's great, but there wasn't a lot to work with. He had kind of one note. He kind of came into it completely insane and, just thirsting for revenge, and he kind of stayed that way to the end. I mean, I think, he was fine, but there wasn't a lot there to work with, I think.
And he had that, like, one J.J. Abrams-y scene where he noticed Spock was on the bridge, and then he teleported. He was like, "Hello, my name is Nero." Hello, Christopher. And that reminded me of MI3, that scene where they pull up above the manhole, and they're like, "Sup? Nothing much. Sup with you?"
That was good.
Like completely random. Doesn't even make much sense.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, Ryan Johnson, since we have you on the show, and I want to sort of get as much out of your appearance as humanly possible. What do you think goes into a good villain character? Like when you've written 2 films and you have pretty memorable villains in both of them. So what do you what do you think of when you're writing a villain?
Well, I don't know. I think a good villain character has some complexity, and for me, that comes from typically having something to offset the villainness, having something you wouldn't expect. Like I think about Belloc and Raiders of the Lost Ark, and that scene where he and Marion are getting drunk. That for me epitomizes kind of what makes a great villain, is that there's this flip side to him that you as a viewer then have to kind of reconcile, and it gives you, he can still then be a total bastard, and it still gives you something to chew on a little bit in terms of where he's coming from, and this, that again, getting back to it, but I think it might have actually though been a mistake to have given the bad guy in Star Trek that, because there were so many other moving parts they had to deal with in this movie. Think about all the characters they had to introduce and give their own thing to. They had a lot to do in this film, and to waste screen time basically on a character who is going to be gone by the end of this film it was probably the right choice not to have done it.
It also felt a little forced, like the whole thing. I guess we can't talk about what it is yet that was driving him, but it felt a little forced. And if you think about it, his whole plan doesn't make much sense at all.
It makes no sense at all. But but the thing is, the film it propels you there's so much momentum in the plot and like just moving you from scene to scene. You have no chance to think about what is happening. You're just kind of like, here's
it's
a
all
situation.
spectacle, man.
Yeah. Here's a situation. Like you're in it now. Stuff's blowing up all around you, and like just enjoy it. And you kind of aren't like, oh, what's his motivation? Like, is this really what he would be doing in this situation? You're just kind of like there. And the immediacy.
Yeah, if you stop to think for 2 minutes, it would have been there was, again, I don't know how to say this without getting into spoilers, but there's something else he probably could have done if he found himself in that situation that might have been a lot more useful than what he chose to do. I guess.
So we'll get into spoilers.
But I didn't think of that while I was watching it, though. It didn't bug me. So
let's get into spoilers in a few minutes. Before we do that, though, I just want to ask you, Ryan, sort of what was your experience seeing this movie? Did you see it by yourself? Did you see it with other people?
No, I was. It was great, actually. I was in Kansas City. I was at a film festival in Kansas City, and I showed up the previous night, and my screening was the next night. And when I showed up, the publicist who was handling the screening said they were doing this word of mouth screening of Star Trek, and so they slipped me into it. And so I saw it with a theater absolutely packed with people in Kansas City, and it was terrific. It was a great crowd, and it was a really cool viewing experience, actually.
Did anyone recognize you?
No. It's very, very sweet of you to ask, but no, absolutely.
We will recognize you.
If I was in the theater, I'd be like, "Hey, you're Ryan Johnson." Of course, at this point, we've already talked
because you had just interviewed me in Chicago the day before. That's the one instance.
Actually, I'm in Boston, but that's okay.
Boston, shit. It's same
okay.
thing. Chicago, Boston. What the hell?
I'm personally insulted now. But
it's all the same.
One of the comments I read.
It's all flyover shit.
Screw you, Ryan. Screw you.
No, I can't just say that.
One of the things that I read on the comment boards at /film.com that I thought was really poignant to me was somebody said, if I had seen this movie as a kid, like today, if I had seen like Star Wars Episode 1 and then seen this movie, I would be a Star Trek fan. Not necessarily a Star Wars fan.
It is active competition to Star Wars.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, like, I'm really curious, like, because back in the day, a couple decades ago, it was always Star Wars that was like the cool franchise. And Star Treks are like the stodgy, like staid, austere. With not much action at all.
With a crappy sound stage.
Right. More about ideas.
Special effects.
Right. Yeah. More about ideas and excitement. But this new Star Trek very much reverses that trend and is very much. I think Katie Rich, our colleague at Cinema Blend, put it I think best when she said, "This is the movie that makes you glad that movies exist."
Yes.
And I think that's true. I think it's very much like you leave. Even though you're like, okay, if you spend more than 5 minutes talking about it with people, you're like, okay, that's kind of dumb. That's real.
But then you watch it again and you start smiling and your brain shuts off.
Yeah, it's just the combination of the acting, the sort of basic premise of the plot that these guys are just out to destroy this evil force that is Nero, and did I already say acting, or did I want to say acting, visuals, and then the
score,
the premise, and obviously Michael Giacchino's great score, all combined to make this just an unforgettable experience. So I think if you haven't seen Star Trek yet, you should really go out and check it out. Yeah. What's really curious to me is that this film has been embraced in a way that other films might not necessarily have been embraced as much. For example, I don't even think The Dark Knight was this popular. At least on, like, for example, Rotten Tomatoes. People seem really willing to overlook the flaws in this film. And that's kind of like, going in, I was like, oh, man, I really hope the public, like, embraces this. And now that they have, I'm kind of like, oh, man, they really did embrace it. And they're not even thinking about the problems about this film.
Which is fine,
Yeah, it's fine. But I'm kind of like, man, what, I got what I wanted, but is that really what I
Dave,
wanted?
honestly, I feel like this was part of your problem with The Dark Knight. If you will remember, you were really annoyed at all the people who loved The Dark Knight and ignored the criticism. So let's rewind a year,
Yeah, so I'm glad that people are kind of like putting the criticisms aside and just enjoying this film for what it is. That being said, there are some problems, so we're going to have to get into spoilers to do that, but I think overall you can tell we all love the film. So from this point on, spoilers. And by the way, in case you're going to stop listening right now, Ryan Johnson's film, The Brothers Bloom, is going to be out in theaters on Friday, May 15th in New York and LA, expanding further on the weeks following, May 22nd, May 29th, and so on. So check it out. Great film. You can read my review of it at /film.com on May 15th. Anyway, spoilers for Star Trek. Okay. So, Ryan Johnson, you were saying you kind of had a problem with the Nero character and like sort of what the hell he's doing, right?
Well, and someone else actually brought this up to me, which I guess speaks again to this fact that it didn't bug me during the movie, which is a pretty impressive magic trick. Okay, so imagine that your planet has just been destroyed by a natural disaster, and the reason that it was such a huge disaster is that you didn't have the time to warn the people didn't have the time to do anything about it. Something amazing happens. You're transported 150 years back into the past. What's your number one goal at that point?
Revenge.
For me, it would probably revenge. Blow up someone else's planet who caused
blow up
this
your planet
horrible
right
thing.
back.
As opposed to maybe, I don't know, getting in touch with your planet and letting them know that they now have 150 years to do something about this or move to another less doomed planet. But it's that I say this, but at the same time, it's all the more impressive to me that I enjoyed the film without a single thought of this while I was watching it. It's almost like knowing how, if you know how a magic trick is done, half of your brain is saying, "Oh my God, that's actually pretty lame." The other half is even more impressed that a good magician is able to pull it off.
Definitely.
That's my big. I don't know. I'm sure there are other big plot holes. And the movie also had quite a number of what I think are well termed as lost isms, where there's just a kind of either a glaring logic hole or something that just doesn't make sense in terms of motivation, and it's obviously kind of patched with a very obvious line of dialogue that just kind of tells the audience what the storytellers need the audience to be thinking at that point in order for the story to move forward. Which again, it's you just kind of, but the whole thing is so well paced and it just kind of has so much energy to it. It just it rides over those bumps pretty smoothly, I think.
My one of my big problems with the film is sort of Kurtzman and Orsi, right? In my opinion, these guys are very good at what they do, but what they do is not necessarily anything particularly profound or deep or emotionally resonant, and something that kind of. I like the character arcs. I like the premise of the film that they're going back in time and rebooting it, like literally creating an alternate timeline for the series where they can just do whatever the hell they want. I think it's pretty inventive, but the dialogue in the movie just never really, in any of their movies, it never really is that good, in my opinion.
I don't know about that, Dave. Like, you say they're good at what they do. I think, first of all, the way they inject humor into their scripts, like you look at Transformers, that movie would have been much more difficult to sit through if it was not as fun, I would say. And this movie, too, like, is really funny at times. And maybe they go a little too far, like Kirk and his giant hands or whatever.
Yes.
Or in Transformers having characters getting sprayed with lubricant oil or whatever.
Sure. Yeah, it's like sometimes they go a little too far. I feel like sometimes they throw things in for kids. And I don't think they're the best at exposition. Like, I think Spock's flashback sequence was really, really clunky in terms of explaining everything that happened.
Yeah. So some of the moments, like, I thought Spock had some really great, like, character moments in this film.
Seriously.
Just like when he's by himself.
They use little bits of dialogue very well. Like, when have we ever heard "live long and prosper" told in a, like, fuck you sense? Like, he basically said, have a nice life.
Yeah. No, that is a good point, Devindra. But then there's some moments that are just like really weak. That's the problem. Like the one I'm thinking of is the idea is that Kirk is supposed to go back. Spock's like, okay, guys, like you got to get like young Spock to flip out, and that way, like he'll be you can assume command of the Enterprise. And then I was talking with Dan Trachtenberg about this point, and Dan was saying how Dan Trachtenberg from the Totally Rad Show, and he was saying how, okay, I'm already writing this scene in my mind. Okay, they go back to the ship, and then everything goes back to normal, and then all of a sudden, some emergency happens, and then Kirk like finds a way to like make Spock freak out, and then you're like, oh yeah, I remember. Like theoretically, like a better screener might have allowed you to like forget that would happen. and then like forget that conversation, and then like later on it calls back. You're like, oh yeah, that's brilliant how they called that back. But instead, what happens is Kirk just goes back to the ship and like starts like insulting Spock to his face. They like bring him to the bridge, and he's like, "You never loved your mom, did you?" And then like Spock like freaks out, and then of course like Spock's relieved of duty, and then Kirk is suddenly captain. It's like kind of like a weird way to do it. It's like, okay, you provoked him to freak out, and now you're captain? Like, doesn't that say something about you, that you're like, are you fit for command if you're like provoking this guy to like not do his job well? So
I think you're like, if that's your issue though with that scene, it's like you're skipping over a major one, like even what you were describing, like this conversation between older Spock and young Kirk. And how about the fact that how does the movie get to that sequence? How does the movie get to the point where Kirk meets older Spock?
You're
like,
right.
That's the one that I was just like, what the fuck? you have, first of all, he gets stranded on that planet, and like they kind of try to make sense of like why he would be near Spock at the time, but it's like it just feels like such a plot contrivance, and then you actually have to like just throw in an action sequence in order for him to just happen upon Spock. That entire
you didn't even
thing.
need that. Like,
like that was that sequence right there. Like, part of me was like, "Oh, cool, it's a giant alien chasing Kirk," but
then you remember the Phantom Menace, and then you remember the bigger fish. It's the exact same.
Right. It was the only time where I felt like it had a pretty big similarity to Wolverine in the way it approached action sequences. But that was kind of the only moment where I felt that. Everything else, I felt like they kind of structured the action scenes in a way that actually felt integral to the plot.
But you know what? I rewatched it in my second viewing of the movie. That scene, despite how big it is in our minds, it's like less than 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Like it's really, really short.
But the action.
What was going in that scene? What was going on with old Spock's face? It was that horrible like digital like face fixing or something that they did in the X-Men movie that just looked really bizarre. Yeah, he looked like a Final Fantasy character for just that scene. It made me think maybe they fixed some makeup thing, and it just looked really digital and weird to me. I don't know.
Weird. I didn't
Did anyone else catch that or no?
No.
Maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know.
Maybe it was just the lighting or something.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're talking about like good script people, Dave. Like, they could have easily solved that with like Kirk walking through, the barren snowfield and finding a small cave with light in it or something. But that wouldn't be exciting, I guess.
Or better yet, why did Spock even throw him off the ship at all? Like, there's a brig on these ships for a reason. Like, he
didn't use the brig.
There's a brig. Like, there's a brig, and it's like, oh no, let's throw him off the ship, and he's gonna land very close to some random other person that's integral to the plot. Who, by the way, is also next to another person who's integral to the plot.
But to be fair, they are both close to like the sort of Enterprise, the sort of like Federation base. Which makes sense.
Which
like if Nero wanted to send Spock there to survive and watch his planet die, he's not going to throw him like to the middle of the planet or something. He wants him to see it, and that's like on purpose. It makes no sense, but Nero, anything involving Nero, makes no sense at all.
Yeah, good point. One thing I wanted to bring up is the way that the references to the old series felt so organic. Like
red shirt.
Yeah.
My favorite one was
red shirt. That was awesome. Even I caught that. That was cool.
The red shirt one. Also, obviously, the Scotty line was awesome. Uhura's earpiece. Chekhov's inability to pronounce V's. Sulu.
Should we maybe actually explain what some of these are, just for people who aren't familiar?
No, well, I think if you're listening, I guess. Okay.
I feel like only if they deserve it. Like, everyone knows what a red shirt is. Look up red shirt on Wikipedia, and you'll know what the reference. But everyone knows what a red shirt is.
Okay, not everyone knows what a red shirt is.
No, because I had to explain it to a bunch of people after the movie.
Not everyone knows what a red shirt is.
If they're listening to our show.
No, not everyone who's listening to our show knows what a red shirt is. So Wikipedia red shirt, and that you'll know what that is a reference to. What else in this movie? Scotty always has this line that's like, "I can't give her any more, Captain," and that's obviously referenced. And the
movie's really good at giving all the characters sort of their moment to shine.
Yeah,
I felt like I was actually kind of impressed with the way they did that. Like, they actually were able to incorporate all these characters, and they all. Sometimes it was just like the writers felt like they were struggling, like with Chekhov. Anton Yelchin needed that moment to do the what is it called? the teleporting. What is it?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
the warp drive thing.
Transporter.
Yeah.
But that was one thing
Right.
that was really cool about this movie was that it actually makes transporting out to be a complicated process. Like,
Sure.
most of the times it's just like, oh, beam them up, and then you beam them up, and then you don't know. There's nothing that goes into that. It's just like, oh, beam them up. But this is actually
But,
like,
okay, but still, with the visual, it was like, oh, I need to calculate this. But he wasn't calculating anything. It was just a bunch of like weird little images.
It's like a video game.
Yeah, it was basically a video game. He had to like select them or something or capture them. But you know, like that's the thing. Like that's J.J. Abrams. You give him Star Trek, and he will show you, how they transport somebody while free falling. Yeah. It's like he pushes it to the next level.
One thing is Sulu, for some reason, is a master sword fighter and can do like karate kicks and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't remember that from the original series.
Yeah.
But
Like,
whatever.
and the defense of like why he would have a sword. It's like, oh, he studied fencing, so it was like a comedic thing that they brought back with randomly this sword that pops out.
That was sort of like, that's one of those things where like it's a J.J. Abrams action scene, man. Like stuff is happening, like it's going at a mile a minute, and then all of a sudden he pulls out a foldable katana, and you can't just help but smile. Like you can't say bullshit.
Yeah.
You can't. You have to enjoy that.
My friend was like,
totally.
Any movie that the friend I saw it with, he was saying how any movie that takes place in the future, though, you have to come up with a pretty contrived situation to have them fight hand to hand, because they have freaking like space weapons, like why are they be fighting hand to hand? But I think they pulled it off. Speaking of futuristic inventions, though, what the hell is up with this drill that is like the most precarious device ever?
It drills into the core of a planet. It like uses like what I would think would be like the space elevator type tech that people talk about.
No, but
what is your problem with it?
It's just like the fact that it's like 1,000 miles long and like
Okay.
like very very fit. It's like really precarious, basically. Like, you could very easily destroy it with like a few shots, which Spock did later on in the film.
Sure. I mean, but the thing is, like Nero presented that ship. That was a mining ship, which makes sense. Like that thing was never built for combat, which doesn't explain why it's so good at combat.
Yeah, and actually that's apparently that is explained in the prequel comic. Everyone's like saying, I was doing some nitpicks. I was actually doing a dry run of my nitpicks with Katie Rich, and everyone was saying, "Oh yeah, dude, check out the comics. It explains that nitpick away." And it's like, if you need to read a comic to understand like what is going on in this movie, I don't know. That's not necessarily a
But
plus.
you don't.
Well,
I'm
I mean,
just saying,
you don't
like,
need to read it. Like the reason you're bringing it up, Dave, is because it's a nitpick. It is not ruining your enjoyment of the film.
That's exactly right. Yes,
it is a nitpick.
I mean, we could do a commentary on this movie.
Chill out, David. Chill out. Jeez.
We could take apart every single scene of this film if we did a commentary on it. But J.J. Abrams does such a great job with pretty much everything that it kind of propels you through it without actually thinking about it, like you said, and you can just enjoy it. So I feel like, then why nitpick? I mean, it's not like they stand like I was watching Wolverine. I could not just enjoy it. Every problem stood out. Here they don't, so I can just sort of ignore them. Actually, wait, no, I do have one. I have only one, which is the lens flare.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I feel like maybe if you don't have so much interest in the sort of art of filmmaking, it won't stand out to you. But for me, it was just kind of that shattering glass thing. Like once you pay attention to it, it stands out in every sequence.
Right.
Later on in the movie, it stopped bugging me. But
no, there's like a lens flare.
That first half hour, I was just lens flare, lens flare,
whoa,
lens flare.
What's going on here?
Like there's lens flares in situations you wouldn't even expect it. Like indoor, mostly indoors. Like if you're out in space near a sun, it's like okay, lens flare, I get it. But every single scene, there's lights pointing at the camera in virtually every scene.
Yeah,
and sometimes I actually thought it was really cool.
Yeah,
yeah. I liked it too. And
yeah,
go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah. No, and I read like an interview with Abrams where he talked about he spoke somewhere and he talked about the rationale behind it, which is just to open up the frame a little, to make you feel like there was something huge going on right outside the frame. And I buy that. And I don't know, I'm predisposed to lens flares though. I really like them, so I can see if they bugged you for some reason, this movie would not be your cup of tea.
Hey, well, listen, Ryan.
I could buy that reasoning, and also I think it does help to cement an interesting visual style for the film.
Totally.
Whereas, most people have never seen this sort of thing before. Now, whenever they see something like that again, they think Star Trek, and that is a pretty big achievement to like have a movie just sort of own a various, a particular effect.
For me though, it was just there was something comical about the fact that like I was noticing it in the opening sequence, and then they have the logo come up, and there's lens flare.
Lens flare.
Well, I just want to say, Ryan, I love lens flare. Like I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like even for me, there is such a thing as overdoing it. Like literally,
Right.
in if there was like 50 scenes in the movie, there were lens flares in 45 of the scenes.
That's probably true. For some reason, maybe it is that thing that you said where it's like breaking light, where if you notice it, then all of a sudden you become aware of it. I did. I mean, I was aware that it was insane lens flare going, but it never was to the point where it was an annoying noise to me that I then heard everywhere I went or something. It never like crossed that threshold. But I hear what you're saying.
12 months from now, we're going to be reviewing Looper on this podcast. We're going to be talking about the insane
the
amounts
Star
of lens flare.
Trekian type flare.
The movie will be entirely one lens flare.
Exactly.
It will be one lens.
It's called.
But
you know what? If I was rewatching MI3, he used quite a few lens flares in that one too. Like it was like he was building up to this style. And I'm looking at Fringe. Fringe is an example of I think where they definitely overdo it, where there aren't even light sources, but things are strobing like outside of the frame. Like what the fuck is going on here?
I want to go back to
dark warehouse. There's nothing that's lighting up here.
I want to go back to a previous point about the references. Again, they really felt organic, and you can tell movies that don't do this organically. I can give you a comparison. Is the Pirates series, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, the second film. Like they freaking referred to every single element from the first film, and it never felt natural. It was like, where is the rum? Like he says 5 gajillion times, and you're like, oh, I remember that vaguely funny moment from the first film when they were talking about rum. And it's like, but it's really not funny when you just bring it up randomly for no particular reason. In this movie, none of that. It all felt organic, and
Sure.
I really appreciate that as a Trek fan.
Well, I think because each of the moments that it happened in would play perfectly well if you didn't know what they were referencing. I think
exactly. That's exactly right. Yes, exactly.
That is the key.
All right, guys. Any other things about Star Trek we want to bring up?
Well, let me say one quick thing about it being so actiony. The second time I watched this movie, I realized that pretty much every scene had involved a major action sequence or violence. Like it's kind of funny. Like you have the opening sequence, then you have Kirk with the car, then you have Spock beating up the little kid. It's just like action beat, action beat, action beat.
Yep.
Which is entertaining, I think, on some level. But I also feel like from what I've read of Gene Roddenberry and what he tried to accomplish with Star Trek was not to have this sort of science fiction where it was all action. And it seems like he was trying to push a more progressive type of thought in the original series, and I think that was followed through in TNG and everything. I feel like that's the only thing that this movie sort of misses out on. Like this movie is basically Star Wars. Like you have everything down to Nero is Darth Vader. Basically, he destroys a planet. Pike is the Obi-Wan Kenobi figure. It's all Kirk coming up from the farm, like very much Luke-esque. There are a lot of things you could read, and this movie is entirely the hero's journey. It is not about what an actual diplomatic organization in space would be like. There was little diplomacy in this film. Like you have the end scene right before they decide to let Nero fall to his doom. So that's the only thing that's a particular. I don't know if it's a flaw. It's just something I noticed, and I hope with the success of this movie that maybe the next movies can be a little more thoughtful.
Having sat through senatorial hearings and ad nauseum in the Star Wars prequels, I say thank God. I say, bring it back to the hero's journey. Fine, do it. Just totally cop it. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting though. The Star Wars parallels, I had never even really thought of them in that specifically. But you're right. It does just hit them. I don't think that's necessarily.
At the ceremony, and Kirk gets his medal and his captain title. That is the end of A New Hope.
Right.
Yeah, you could definitely easily argue that this is not really Star Trek as we've seen it, but I mean, in response to that, Star Trek Insurrection and Star Trek Nemesis. Those are the two most recent films we've gotten in the Star Trek series. I don't think anyone cares anymore. Well, I mean, obviously you have the diehard Trekkies, but as sort of like a profitable like movie making goes. Like you don't have an audience for it really anymore.
Yeah,
an audience to actually have those movies be successful or the series be successful. Like what J.J. Abrams has done with it has opened it up in a way that's actually fresh and exciting.
That's the point that I was trying to make to my fellow Trek fans, is just that what is the alternative to this, right? Like, what is the alternative to this version of Trek? Is nothing. Like,
exactly.
Trek is dead. Like, Trek dies with a whimper and not a bang.
Yeah.
And at least now there's a chance. Like, it might not actually happen, but there's a chance that we might see some of the ideas explored again. And, you know, Ryan Johnson, correct me if you think I'm wrong here, but in my opinion, the best sci-fi out there sort of explores doesn't just use technology as a backdrop for the story, but explores the implications of technology's relationship with humanity. And that kind of is what Star Trek at its best used to do, right? Like, what would happen? You know, like what would happen if we were exploring from space? You know, from planet to planet. Like, what are the implications of us all belonging to this interplanetary polity known as the United Federation of Planets? What is what is going on? What is the Prime Directive? You know, is that a good thing? You know, stuff like that. Stuff you think about, very cerebral stuff,
which was never even mentioned in this movie.
Yeah, none of that is even mentioned in this movie. But the fact that this movie exists keeps the Star Trek universe alive, and maybe they'll be able to explore those things in the next film.
Yeah.
But without this movie, there'd be no Star Trek. No one would be talking about Star Trek right now, right?
Yeah.
So
it needed the shot in the arm, basically.
Exactly right. So yeah, but what do you think of that? I mean, you're writing a sci-fi film, so what do you? I mean, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I don't think it's likely, if this movie makes all the money in the world, that on the next one they'll say, okay, now it's time to really start tackling issues of racism and globalization, and now we've worked our way into the American conscious. It's time to take some risks. I can't imagine that happening. I have a feeling if this template works, they'll keep, they'll turn these out
to hell.
Yeah, exactly. I also feel like, and I guess that's one thing that that you could say on the opposite side of this movie is that's one thing you could say not against it, but I think it's possible to do both. I think it's possible. It is absolutely possible to, in some ways, address real issues while at the same time making a great popcorn movie. I'd point to the Terminator. Definitely the first Terminator, but definitely the first. But I think say Terminator 2 in terms of a movie that was truly a summer popcorn movie, and yet also, it wasn't My Dinner with Andre, but it had a couple things on its mind that it addressed especially in terms of where we are at that point with nuclear, armament. It just had some very vague stuff, which at least at watching it as a kid, I was aware of like some bigger, heavier stuff going on in the background.
Go ahead, Adam.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, as an example, I would use Sunshine of a movie that is both really thrilling and entertaining, while also actually having an intellectual side to it as well.
Sure.
Right. It's
Except
absolutely
for the
possible.
very end. Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely possible to do. So I mean, it's very true. I agree with that. This Star Trek film did not have a, who was it who said they didn't have an intellectual bone in its body? That's
yeah.
But
very true.
There are elements that sort of call back to ideas that the old Star Trek had, specifically. The whole idea of Spock being torn between two identities and two worlds, and I think that's played out pretty well in the film, and that's actually kind of a profound point about being stuck between two worlds and literally for him between two species, and he gets one of the most satisfying character arcs in the film, I think.
No, definitely.
Go ahead, Ryan.
I'm sorry, no. But if you look at contrast it to the way that it's played out in Wrath of Khan, for example, with the emotional impact of I will always be your friend at the end of it. I mean, there's no comparison at all. I mean, this is done in a relatively extremely simple and kind of simplified way. But that's something that we stated up front about it. I don't think it doesn't work because of that. It's just what the thing is, I guess.
Yeah, it's a completely different beast. I was bringing that up just because I feel like Battlestar Galactica has proven that sci-fi with big ideas, but also action, can work, and can be melded. Can work when put together. And I feel like now Star Trek really, if we're looking at science fiction, Star Trek has to compete with Battlestar Galactica just in terms of like the weight of its ideas. I'm not sure if we'll ever get that movie.
Yeah, well, we can always hope. We can always hope. And that's what I was implying, by the way, for the next film. Not that it would just be like a ponderous, slow-moving film, but that it would hopefully combine some interesting ideas with a crapload of amazing action. Mm-hmm. So hopefully we can cross our fingers for that. Something thought-provoking as well as thrilling,
yes.
I hope.
We're depending on you, Ronald Moore. Please bring us home.
Aldi Moore. Oh, that would be sort of awesome.
That'd be something right there.
All
right, really man. Well, I think that about takes us to the end of our review of Star Trek. I think we can all say definitely go check it out. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. One last thing I wanted to mention is just that I felt like if the script was in the hands of some more capable screenwriters, that's the one thing that I was kind of disappointed in. Is this film I felt like could have been a masterpiece, but instead it's merely a great film.
Yeah,
and,
but I mean, it's a trade-off. Like, I feel like Kurtzman and Orsi definitely understand the Trek universe and the characters. Maybe they're not the best, dialogue writers, or maybe they didn't set everything up as well. But then you give it to someone else, and you don't know what you're losing.
Yeah,
it may be less Trek, and maybe less fun, but maybe a better script.
Yes, good point.
So I don't know.
All right, well, that brings us to the end of this episode of the Slash Filmcast, the official podcast of SlashFilm.com. Before we go, I always like to ask everyone, where can we find more of your work on the internet or anywhere this week? Ryan Johnson.
I just put up a kind of a little fun thing. If you go to movieline.com, I just did a one-page screenplay that they're doing in this series of one-page screenplays. That's up there. And then also, obviously, check out thebrothersbloom.com, and we've got the movie coming out on Friday in New York and LA, and then opening up from there, so...
Actually, that is brothersbloom.com, not thebrothersbloom.com.
Brothers Bloom. I think both will take you there. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. So go see the Brothers Bloom
when you can.
Yeah, whenever it comes out. And by the way, you're right about that. It's both. But go see the Brothers Bloom. It's I should not have corrected. Ryan Johnson.
How dare you?
Go see the Brothers Bloom May 15th in New York and LA. And expanding to Boston and other cities May 22nd, and then May 29th, even more cities. It's a great film. You can read my review of it, /film.com on May 15th. Ryan Johnson, really appreciate you hanging out. Hope you had a good time here.
I had a blast, man. Thank you guys for staying up late to have me on. I appreciate it.
You're always welcome to come here anytime. If you have, if you approve,
don't tell me that. I'll be back on. I'll be calling you every single night,
dude. Well, we don't have a show every single night. But
I don't think I'd mind.
Anytime, I'm setting it down right now. Anytime you want to come back, you will take precedent over any other guest.
Ooh.
So, except
that Kevin Smith guy will kick him right off.
Exactly right. Except maybe Kevin Smith. But that being said, I'm just kidding. Devindra Hardware, where can we find more of your work on the internet this week?
You can find me on slashfilm.com, at twitter.com/Devindra, and you can find everything I do at devindra.org.
Adam Quigley?
You can check out my personal film site at alwayswatching.net. You can check out my weekly DVD column every Tuesday on slashfilm.com. And you can follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/alwayswatching.
You can find me at twitter.com/Dave Chensky. That's Dave Chen SKY. And you can find all of my movie writings at slashfilm.com. You can also find back episodes of the Slash Filmcast at slashfilmcast.com. And you can always email us and give us feedback. Let us know what you think of the show at slashfilmcast@gmail.com. By the way, if you go to slashfilmcast.com, you'll find links to subscribe to the podcast and also links to donate. I want to give a big thanks to our donors, reoccurring donors Eric S., Patrick F., and Cameron H., who I've chosen the subscription option of donating a couple dollars a month. Really appreciate that. I forgot to mention them last week. And by the way, guys, if I forgot to mention you, it's not because I'm trying to neglect you. It's just because I'm not organized to know who all the donors are. So email me and let me know, and I'll definitely mention you in the next episode if I don't remember you or didn't mention you. Apologies for that. Also, a couple people donated this week. Alex Y. from rtgmediafiles.blogspot.com. That's media files with a PH. Sam at fanthefiremagazine.com. And Caesar Kuriyama. So if any donation of $10 or more gets you and your website mentioned on the air, I want to give a special shout out to Caesar Kuriyama. If you Google the words Fat City music video, you will find Caesar K's music video, which he created using 45,000 photos and no video equipment whatsoever. So I'd actually encourage everyone to check that out. It's a really cool music video. Caesar Kuriyama's Google Fat City music video. Again, big thanks to all of our donors who help keep the Slash Filmcast alive. Finally, music for our podcast comes courtesy of the PodSafe Network at music.podshow.com. The bands we usually use are Point22 at point22.com and Bradsucks at bradsucks.net. Tune in next Sunday night, not Monday, on May 17th as we review Angels and Demons at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific. And, that brings us to the end of this episode of the Slash Filmcast. Ryan Johnson, again, thanks so much for giving so generously of your time to join us tonight. It's been an absolute honor, and we wish you the best of luck with Brothers Bloom.
No, thanks, Thanks, guys. It was really fun.
All right, guys.
Awesome.
Everyone, take it easy. Thanks for listening to the Slash Filmcast. Have a good night.
It's a little bit hard to understand what